right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Book Witches with a B, episode 6 of our podcast. I'm Orja,
And I'm Colleen.
and in this episode, we are going to be talking about chapters 26 through 30 of A Court of Thorns and Roses. And oh boy, so much happens.
Buckle up.
I will also just give a warning. This episode contains explicit content. We'll give you another warning before we discuss the explicit content as well, if that is not something that you'd like to consume. Let us get on with our chapter recap. Woohoo! Okay, so chapter 26, we open. It is the day after summer solstice. Feyre and Tamlin have finally kissed a whole bunch.
I
So
guess
they kissed a lot.
they did, yes.
And it was a really sweet, like romantic, cozy kind of scene. It was really nice. So the next day we open up again. It's lunchtime, but it's everyone's breakfast. Basically, everyone was out super late. And there's some heavy flirting between Farah and Tamlin while Lucian is just sitting there, like, not in front of my salad type of thing. And they're talking a little bit. Lucian brings up some really like heavy information. Farah wonders if Lucian is the spy master in addition to court emissary of the Spring Court, which is an interesting thing I never noticed. And she wonders kind of like, why is Lucian even bringing any of this up in front of her? It seems like stuff that they don't really talk about. But he lets Tamlin know that he has received word from the Winter Court, and the Blight has killed 24 younglings, Fae children. And of course, the Night Court is unscathed. And at this moment, Farah kind of is like, well, if children are as rare as Alice said, then this devastation is like so much worse than she can imagine because young fairies are such a blessing and such a rarity, and 24 of them were just killed by the blight. While they're kind of discussing all of this, everything suddenly gets really silent. Tamlin literally cuts off his sentence mid sentence and is like, get Farah to the window. And so Lucian takes her to the window and kind of stands in front of her, and she realizes that they're glamoring her so that she becomes invisible to whatever is coming. Enter, dun dun dun, Gaston, or or as we now know, his name is Rhysand. Rhys for short.
Yes.
So Rhysand arrives, and you get the feeling like he and Tamlin and Lucian, they all know each other. Rhysand says something like, after 49 years and you are so formal with me. So like they're all kind of, they know each other. Something, they were in contact with each other 49 years ago. 49 years, by the way, is the amount of time that the blight has been affecting Prithian. So, he mentions that he actually he is old enough to have fought in the war, in the Great War 500 years ago, which is insane.
So he old.
He old. And he makes some jokes about like Tamlin and Lucian hiding in the Spring Court Manor for 49 years. We finally get the name of this mysterious she that has been plaguing Farah's nightmares and hanging over her. The name is Amarantha, and she resides under the mountain, wherever that is. And apparently, Tamlin and Lucian chose to be in the Spring Court instead of under the mountain. So we just get a lot of like disjointed information here. We're not really sure what's going on. Feyre is like behind Lucian, who is like standing up against her and glamoring her. And so while they're rambling, we get a kind of rude description of Rhysand. He is apparently also known as Amarantha's whore. Sorry, everyone out there. Don't really get a whole lot of information more about that, but clearly Rhysand is involved with Amarantha. Amarantha is this mysterious, terrifying she. And we find out that Rhysand is the one who delivered the severed head. He's part of the Night Court. While he's discussing all of this, for some reason, Farah notes that his voice is sensual and like sends shivers up and down her spine. I'm like, Farah, get it together.
You're like, if he dangerous, why hot?
Yeah. And we also find out that he's actually a High Lord of the Night Court, not just any member of the Night Court. So, like, yeah, he's terrifying and dangerous and definitely our Gaston character. I'm so happy that I realized that. One of Rhysand's powers, which is not something that we've seen before, he can invade people's minds. So he finds out that Farah is there. He gets really mad at Lucian and Tamlin for trying to deceive him, and he delves into her mind. It's described as like dark claws kind of scratching against the walls of her mind, which sounds terrifying. And he's like, "What's your name?" And she makes up a name. Well, she doesn't make up a name, sorry. She gives him a fake name. She gives him the name Claire Better, which is a friend of Elaine's that used to live in the village with them.
Mhm.
And that's what happens in chapter 26. So, chapter 27, after Rhysand has left, Tamlin kind of starts destroying rooms in his rage. Farah goes up to her room. You know, she's not like there, but she can hear the reverberations of like wood splintering, glass crashing, and Tamlin's just like roaring in rage. He's gone full beast form. Farah is reeling. She's thinking about the information. She finally has a name, Amarantha. And as she's like kind of mulling all of this over, Talman appears and is like, "You need to go home. Damn the consequences." She does not take this news very well. She doesn't want to leave. She's like, "What about the treaty? You said there were no loopholes." He says, "I'm taking responsibility for it. If anyone comes asking for you, I'll let them know that I've taken responsibility for the life and you're free to go." Farah is so upset by this news. It's like a very stark difference
Mhm.
from what she would have felt just a couple of months ago. And she's
Mhm.
trying to think like, okay, so he's sending me back. I have to go back. When can I come back though? When is the next time I'm gonna see you? She basically resolves that like she's gonna have to find a way to get back to him because she can't imagine her life without him anymore, essentially. Which is
Yeah.
again just 180 degrees from where she was before. We're about to get into some explicit content here, guys. So Tamlin basically enters Pharaoh's room and he is basically like, "You are leaving at dawn tomorrow." And Farah is like devastated from this news. I mean, she's very clear on her feelings for Tamlin now. She likes him. And she is kind of like a little down on herself. And she's like, I understand why you want me to leave. I'm a little bit thorny. I'm sour. Like, your life is going to be better without my presence here."
Mhm.
And he basically is like, "Absolutely not." And then they start like fooling around, messing around a little bit.
Oh.
Tamlin is trying to be a gentleman and trying not to push her, especially because she's leaving tomorrow. And
Mhm.
Farah is essentially like, "Have at me."
Come on, big boy.
Yeah, like she like strips her clothes off and she's like, "Let's go." She's like, "I've done this before. Let's go." Um, and then we have the quote, "He lunged, a beast freed of his tether."
Nope.
And um, and so they do it a few times. They couple, I'll say, a few times that night. And as
Mhm.
Farrah's finally kind of drifting off into sleep, she hears Tamlin whisper in her ear, "I love you, thorns and all." So
It's so cute.
it's so sweet. It's like yeah, he loves her. He's finally told her the day before she's leaving, but
And that part's rude, but it's cute.
it's cute. Chapter 28 opens at the dawn of the next day. Alice is basically dressing her in this like big, poofy, frilly dress that must be the height of human fashion for the wealthy in the mortal realms. She's wearing heels, this ridiculous hat. She's like very upset with what she's wearing because she's been wearing tunics and trousers this whole time.
Yeah.
And Lucian is takes one look at her and is like, "I definitely never want to go to the mortal realms now."
So fair. She looks like a cupcake.
Yeah. Um, Alice and Farah have a very unemotional goodbye. Farah is like, "I'm not great at saying goodbye. I would rather just walk out one day and never come back." And Alice is like, "I understand I'm not great at goodbyes either. Good luck with everything." Farah's like, "Okay." Lucian, all of a sudden, doesn't want her to leave. He's like, "I thought you were smarter than this, Feyre." And he's like, goes to Tamlin and is like, "Can't you just give her a few more days?" Like, all of a sudden, It's another 180 degrees flip from like, I
Mhm.
would love it if she died or wasn't here to
Mhm.
don't let her go, right?
You're like, why are you letting her leave?
Yeah,
Yeah.
why are you letting her leave, essentially? Um, Tamlin tells Farah he loves her one more time right before her carriage whisks her away, and Farah realizes like she loves him, but she doesn't say it. She just lets herself be taken away. Very interesting. She's actually put in a magical sleep on her way out of Prithian as well. It's not said explicitly, but Tamlin definitely put her to sleep so that she couldn't change her mind and run back to him. But come on.
His character growth is none.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
He has zero character growth. So when she wakes up, she realizes that they're pulling up to a large manor. This is not the home she was expecting to return to. It's this lovely estate manor with grounds. There's servants there, and she's like, "Wow." When Talon said that he was taking care of my family, he meant taking care of them. They are
Mhm.
officially wealthy again. And so she gets out of the carriage and she's kind of waiting there. And Nesta and Elaine run out of the door and they don't recognize her at first. They like bow and curtsy to her and are like, "Welcome to our estate." And Farrah's like, "Guys, it's me." And they're very surprised. Elaine is. We get a lot more of lovely Elaine in this section.
Mhm.
Elaine is overjoyed. She's like, "Oh, did our aunt die?" Because if you remember, the story was that Farah went away to take care of some sick aunt. And Farah says, "Right, yeah, our aunt died." Nesta looks very suspicious. She's silent. She's looking at Farah. She doesn't really say anything to her, which, like, I mean, it's Nesta, so what did we expect? And Elaine is like, "Oh, so she left you everything," because apparently Tamlin sent Farah home with, like, riches as well. We find out that about a week after Farah left, someone came to their door and asked Papa Archeron to invest his money in something, and they received like a large sum for Papa Archeron investing this dude's money, mysterious dude. And then shortly after that, the ships that had been lost were found at their destination along with all of the wealth. So they got all of their wealth back. Farah is uneasy on multiple levels here. We end the chapter with her pondering on like the Suriel said to stay with the High Lord, and I am not with the High Lord anymore.
Mhm.
And she's also uneasy, like, they really didn't miss me. It really was like I was not in their minds at all. So it's just ends the chapter on like a weird, bittersweet, kind of ominous note, I guess.
Mhm.
Farah feels very uneasy. Chapter 29 starts. Her family's doing well. Her father, Papa Archeron, is like clear eyed. He has a purpose again. He's doing his business stuff again. It seems like a mysterious healer came along with some sort of tonic that helped heal his limp quite a bit as well. So he's
Mhm.
like almost back to the man that he was before they lost their wealth. He is planning on traveling the next season. Elaine's planning to go with him. She's like, "Farah, come with us." Nesta doesn't want to come for some reason. She's basically turned into like a recluse who doesn't talk to anyone and makes everyone uncomfortable. But you should come traveling with me. It'll be so much fun. And Farah's like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." There is a sentence or two in there about how like the food, even though the food is much the same as what she was eating in Prithian all this time, it's like ash in her mouth compared to the quality of food in Prithian. So she's having a hard time eating, all
Mhm.
of which makes Nesta even more suspicious, which I'm suspicious of. Nesta, what do you know?
What do you mean this?
Yeah.
Why so suspicious?
Why so suspicious? We get a little bit of like so the life there. Elaine has a beautiful garden. Everyone loves her. She's very generous, kind, and caring. The servants all dote on her. Her father dotes on her. She dotes on her father. She has everything that she could possibly want. Feyre realizes that her time in Prithian has actually transformed her. She's kind of like glowing and regal, and she carries herself differently. She notices, I thought this was funny, she notices that humans just move a lot more than fairies do. Fairies are this
Mhm.
like have this preternatural stillness about them, and humans are just in constant motion. Farah decides that once her wealth has all been counted up and she spends a large sum on this ball that her father decides to throw for her and Elena's Elaine is planning for her. Farah looks at this sum of money that she still has in her accounts as this very wealthy woman now, and she bags up a bunch of gold and she sets off to her old village. She goes to their old cottage and kind of looks around. She's struck with this, like, was it really that small? And, like, kind of looking upon her old life before she left and pondering and wondering about how different things are now. And that's where chapter 29 ends. Chapter 30 opens up on Farah going about and visiting some families from her old village and giving them gold. No one recognizes her. They all think she's some random, like, highborn lady who's for some reason, gifting them gold. She says that she has to like force it upon some people who think she's being too generous, and she's like, "No, really, take this gold. You need it
Yeah.
more than I do." She runs into Isaac and his new wife. Yeah, Isaac, and they have like a very short and pleasant interaction. She says Isaac no longer looks like the boy that she remembers. Getting married has turned him into a man. The wife looks like she's very much in love with Isaac and they look happy. They sort of like smile and nod at each other, and she wishes him well with all of her heart. It's a very sweet moment.
Very
Well,
sweet. We love Isaac.
yeah, love Isaac. Um, she passes by Thomas Mandray. So Nesta did not marry the woodcutter's son, Thomas Mandray. We don't know why, but we're really happy that she didn't. But she passes by Thomas and some of his quote unquote cronies and hears them talking about a nearby house that's been like burned to the ground or something. We don't get any more details yet. More to come on that in further episodes. Um, and so while all of this is happening, she's kind of like thinking about Tamlin and Prithian, and she misses Tamlin a lot. And she can't help but feel that she's made like a grave mistake in leaving. This has been eating at her since she arrived. She's made a huge mistake. She doesn't know why she feels that way, but she's like, I've done something wrong in leaving and coming back here. That night, there is a ball being thrown in Farah's honor. Farah can't help but dwell on Prithian. She hasn't been able to paint because of all of the things that she's feeling. And all of a sudden, Nesta comes out and is like looking at Farah. And Feyre describes her as beautiful, imperious, and as still as one of the High Fae, which I thought was a really important description because we've discussed in prior episodes, in prior chapters, Nesta is different from everyone else. She is a queen without a throne. She is regal. She's a predator. And here now Farrah has come back and spent so much time with actual predators. And she's like,
Yeah.
Nesta's one of them. Which I always thought it was so interesting. Like, Nesta is so different from everyone.
Yeah, very much so.
So Nesta actually, this is the point. Nesta confronts Farah and she's like, I know that you didn't go to Aunt Whatever's. She doesn't exist. And Farah's like, whoa, whoa, what?
What do you mean?
What do you mean? And Nesta reveals to Farah that the glamour didn't work on her. She says, like, apparently all it takes is iron will to deflect a fairy's magic. And Farah does think about how Nesta has so many walls in her mind. So, of course, the magic must not have penetrated the walls in her mind. So she was like, I was there, and everyone went from, as soon as he left, everyone went from like sobbing and terrified to all of a sudden, like, nothing happened. And I thought that I was going mad. But then I saw the table, like where the beast scratched the table, and I knew that it had happened. And she reveals to Farah, like, I went after you. I know.
This part like broke me
I
when I read
know.
it.
I
I
know.
was like,
Nesta says, I hired that mercenary who sold you the pelts with the money that she gave you for the pelts, and I had her accompany me to the wall. I couldn't get through the wall, but I tried. I tried to go after you. And Farah's like, what? And she suddenly has this realization that, like, Nesta, her father would never have gone after her,
no.
but Nesta did go after her.
I also wouldn't have assumed Nesta would have
Me
at
neither.
all. Like she's the last person I would have assumed.
Yeah, I know. And it's just like we're gonna have to talk about that in the deep dive discussion part, but there's just so much to tease out there. And then we also get confirmation. Nesta says, "I hated you because for being able to take care of us in a way that I knew I never could. But I hated our father because he didn't even try." And that's where
Valid.
we end chapter 30.
Ooh.
All right. All right, let's talk about our chapter superlatives.
Hmm.
Drama queen of the chapter. I actually do think that Farah is the drama queen of the chapter.
Yeah. Her or Lucian, in terms of like, I remember like when I read this, it didn't really seem like they gave Feyre a choice whether she was leaving or not. And the Lucian being like, I can't believe you're leaving. She's like, I don't have a choice. Like, he knocked her out.
Yeah,
Like, to leave. I always thought that was a little interesting.
that's true. Lucian might be the drama queen.
I agree.
Farah's just like really, she's just filled with angst.
She has turned into the sad emo person
Yeah,
in this section.
she's Bella in New Moon.
She hasn't jumped off any cliffs yet, but yes.
Continuing the Twilight comparisons here, no, she's not quite Bella level in New Moon. She's like,
No. She's doing things with her life. She's just sad
yeah,
about
she's
it. Yeah.
happy to be back with her family, but there's so
Mhm.
many emotions there.
Yeah, I agree.
And then craziest thing to happen in these chapters.
Nesta trying to find her sister, who she thought hated her.
Yeah,
Like, I remember my jaw was on the floor when I read this first time. I was like, there's no way.
I know. And then just like I felt like it was gonna be something because Farah got there and she wasn't mean to her. She just
Mm-mm.
didn't talk. Like we didn't get anything about Nesta.
Yeah.
And I was like, whatever, didn't think anything of it. And then like boom, Nesta went to find you.
You're like, okay.
Yeah, that was really crazy for me.
Yeah, by far the biggest. I mean, I guess her like actually going back to the human realm was also a surprise because they were so
Hmm.
dead set against that. But that to me made more sense than Nesta trying to find her. I don't think it was bad that Nesta tried to find her, but I was expecting that more
Yes.
than I was expecting that.
Agreed, agreed. Even like, I mean, we've talked about like Nesta could have been capable of doing things, but she never showed that she would ever bother. And then
Yeah,
she hiked 2 days in the woods with the mercenary, and
who she was afraid of.
who she was afraid of, and she tried to get through the wall. What was she gonna do when she got to Prithian?
Yeah. Honestly, knowing Nesta, 100% would survive and would find her if she could get over the wall. She would be fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah,
I don't think they would have noticed she wasn't Faye.
that's a great point. Farah,
Mm-hmm.
even Farah, who's like, I am changed, everything is so different here, is like, Nesta is very still.
Yeah. Yeah, like Nesta is like, she could just honestly cover up her ears and everyone would assume she's Faye.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy. Crazy to think of. It just makes you think there's more to Nesta.
There has to be, yeah, with
Yeah.
just the way that the glamour didn't work on her and those types of things. That would actually be wild to be like everyone hysterically crying and then suddenly just being like, oh, she went out to live with an
Oh
aunt.
my
And you're
God.
like, am I crazy?
Yeah. Yeah, or Nesta. Also, I forgot to mention in the chapter recap that after Nesta confronts Farah and's like, I know that you didn't go there. I tried to find you. She's like, tell me everything. And so Farah actually confides in Nesta like everything that's happened about
Mm-hmm.
Tamlin, Lucian, the Blight, like everything. And then Nesta's like, teach me how to paint because she, instead of like making fun of her and as looking down her nose and all of that, she's like, I want to learn how to paint. And so they have like a little bonding time and they're both covered in paint before they have to come out and get ready for the ball. That was a sweet moment.
That is sweet. I wonder if, because they never really address like kind of why Nesta had this shift. I'm going to assume it's seeing her youngest sister be kidnapped by this terrifying being
Yeah,
that, and you feeling like you really can't do anything about it.
I think so.
Yeah, like I think something like finally snapped in her brain. I don't think she ever really thought about Feyre being in danger in the woods. Like I
Yeah.
don't think she thought she was. I do think she was upset with her like being able and like feeling like she was capable of doing those things when for some reason Nesta felt like she wasn't. I mean,
Hmm.
she said that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I think it was the combination of like this very traumatic, your youngest sister
Mhm.
is gone. She just was dragged out by this ginormous beast fairy thing. And then your sister and dad are like, doo doo doo. Like,
Yeah,
what?
everything's fine, which is also the things that I think she was frustrated about with her dad previously
Mm-hmm.
anyway. So she's already upset with her dad
Yeah.
about like just ignoring things and it's just happening all over again. And now it's including Elaine.
Yeah, and it's including Elaine. And it's like Elaine, well, so the other thing is like she has that protective role for Elaine.
Hmm.
And then she just watches Elaine, who has been on the ground sobbing with terror, suddenly be like, everything's fine. My spidey senses would go off in that as well.
Oh yeah, I'd be like, that's not
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, no, I would agree.
Yep. So, yeah. Okay. Shall we get into our deep dive discussion?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, getting into that first chapter where Rhysand, our guest on, he is there. He's threatening Tamlin and Lucian with
Hmm.
his words. Farah is affected.
Well, yeah, I mean, he attacked her. I mean, and also seeing this, like, so I don't know if you mentioned it or not, but like at one point, Reese has Tamlin like grovel, like on the ground, like bow
Yes.
before him essentially. And like Tamlin is by far the most powerful person that she's seen in this entire like world that she's in, right? I think she kind of assumed he was the top predator, but seeing like this person that's, you know, supposed to be strong and protective and doing those things groveling on the ground in
Hmm.
front of this man that you're oddly attracted to, by the way, it's gonna be so confusing and terrifying.
Yeah. Tamlin is like,
Mhm.
don't tell Amarantha about her, please. This
Yeah.
is presumably the danger that Tamlin was talking about in our last episode, where he's like, you wouldn't survive. It's
Yeah.
probably whatever under the mountain is, whatever Amarantha is doing. Um,
Hmm.
and so he's like, please don't tell her about her. And Rhysand is like, beg me.
Yeah, like beg and maybe will, and he didn't even necessarily like say that he won't tell her. He's just like, maybe I won't.
Yeah.
Like beg and we'll see.
Yeah. And I think that that's a really interesting point because you have, like we were just talking about, Nesta finally snapping
Hmm.
when she saw her baby sister being dragged out and finally being like, I need to do something. Like,
Hmm.
I think that's one thing that possibly these two characters might have in common, where it's like the
Hmm.
Beast is stoic, grumpy. He can be really fun, he can be whatever. But
Yeah.
then, like, after he is made to beg and grovel for the chance of Amarantha not finding out about Feyre, he destroys rooms.
I word that
He
better.
lets his rage overtake him.
Yes, he lets the anger consume him. He needs to go to some anger management courses. But yes, yeah, I understand being like distraught and being
Mhm.
upset and like having a outlet for that. I wouldn't say destroying the things that you own.
Mm.
Physical space. I mean, it's like, you know, the guy that hits the wall when he gets upset kind of thing. Like
Yeah,
it's not great.
it's not
Yeah.
great. It's bad. And then like I there's a lot of fear associated with his rage, I feel. He's
Well, yeah.
terrified. He makes
Well, no
the
one stops him.
Yeah, and then he makes the rash decision to send her home like the next day. He's like, that is it,
Mhm.
you're going home. Um,
Yeah.
just full of
I know
fear.
he says it's out of like fear for her. I think it's a little bit out of shame of him, like
Mm-hmm.
not only groveling and like seeing, and he's like, she must think like, you know, less of me, but also like she saw
Interesting.
me in this like rage element thing. He's just like, he's just too ashamed to even face it.
That's a great point. I had never considered that before.
Well,
Oh,
because he's so
damn.
powerful and he's
Yeah.
used to being like clearly very used to being like, you obey me. Like Lucian says, Tamlin will gut me. Like he's very much used to being in control and in power,
Mm-hmm.
and like that was stripped from him
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
in that
completely.
moment. Yeah,
Let's talk more about Rhysand because I'm intrigued.
I want to hate him more than I do.
Nothing that he actually does to Feyre until he invades her mind,
Yeah,
right? Like
which is a
he's,
big
I mean,
violation.
he
Yeah.
has saved her
Hmm.
from horrible things. He
Hmm.
is physically gentle with her when he is talking to her, but then he like invades her mind, which is just terrifying. And then
Yeah.
he's like, "Yeah, I did you like my present, Teehee?"
Yeah, he's like, check the little gift I left. Like, mortifying. Like, all of it would be awful. Yeah.
Yeah. But I definitely want more of him. I'm intrigued.
I do think from like Feyre's perspective, it would be kind of interesting to see, like she's seen him twice,
Hmm.
but I would almost say that the two that we've seen of him, like he's always been scary, but like
Hmm.
I think the way that he handled Feyre during Cal and Mai versus like this person would feel very different.
Yes.
Like kind of like what you were saying, like
Hmm.
he seemed more gentle. Like I mean, he offered to escort her back, like very clearly
Yeah.
knew she was a human, could have attacked her,
Hmm.
didn't.
Hmm.
He didn't seem interested. He seemed like uninterested, to
Yeah.
be honest. He was
Sure.
just like, yeah.
Sure. But like it's not that the thing that's so startling, I think, is that it's not that like casual cruelty because if it doesn't feel like it's oh well this human is beneath me because he took an interest and saved her already. It's
Mm-hmm.
more like how does that guy sever someone's head and stick it on a pike?
Yeah, like yeah, it seems odd, and maybe he just had a particular distaste for violence against women, but other violence he doesn't have any problems with.
Maybe.
I know some people have that line of like violence is fine, but not against women,
Yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. It does seem odd, and it does seem like clearly we're building towards something with Amarantha,
Yeah.
and he's also very clearly connected to her.
Yes. Yes. The
So I'm
whole
assuming we're going to see more of him.
Amarantha's HWHORE. So,
Yeah, and a very unkind thing. Yeah.
yeah. Um,
I mean, maybe he takes it as a badge of honor. We don't know. I
maybe.
mean,
He
maybe it's a
seems
mantle he likes.
unbothered by it.
That's true. And maybe he's just like, it's what people call me. I don't care. Or and maybe it's something he's put around by himself. Who knows?
Who knows?
But
We don't know. I'm just so intrigued also because it's kind of that like, it becomes a very Fae moment where like, they're High Lords of Battle and Courts. They know each other. They probably knew each other when they were kids or when Tamlin was a kid. Rhysand knew him because we don't know how much older he is. But like they
mhm.
have centuries of history together. And
Yeah,
so that even though they're very clearly enemies of each other, there's like this weird familiarity between them.
yeah, I agree. There seems to be like the I mean, it's yeah, like the politic element of it. It's
Hmm.
like when two opposing political figures who have known each other for years have to be in the same space, kind of situation. Also, like very clearly the foil of like blonde, gorgeous, golden Tamlin
Yeah.
versus like dark haired, dark eyed
Yes.
Reese. Like
Yes.
they're like supposed to be that
They are
foil,
foils.
clearly.
Yeah. Very
Yeah.
true. We get mention of Lucian's mother as well. So apparently Lucian's mother is under the mountain. Apparently a lot of people are under the mountain, wherever that is.
Hmm.
And Rhysand has seen Lucian's mother recently. Lucian has not. Sad.
Which is interesting because we haven't heard them talk about her and like how if she was upset. I mean, I don't think we know like if she was upset or not about like him leaving, or it seems like maybe there's some sort of care
Hmm.
there if Rhysand's taking the time
Yeah,
to let Lucian know of being like there's
definitely.
clearly some sort of emotional connection
Yeah,
still
that was
because
a barb for sure.
yeah, like he was definitely like trying to like dig into good old hot-headed Lucian boy. Literally, apparently his hair looks like molten metal.
You know,
So yeah,
casual. Um, do we want to talk about the explicit content?
we can. I'm fine with it if you're fine with it.
Okay, warning, warning, warning. We are about to talk about explicit content. Please do not let your children be in the room.
Yes, children in the room. If you don't want to hear it, fast forward a little bit.
Put in some music to
Mhm.
to separate this, and then I'll put the music in at the end of the segment as well.
So it'll be easier to find. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Okay, so explicit content. So Feyre and Tamlin, Tammy Tam, do the deed a few times.
a few times, which, like, stamina, wow.
Yeah,
I mean, I know he's not human, but that seems excessive.
it does. It does. We get the whole thing of like the scents have a lot to do with it, scenting the arousal.
Yes, I am very curious if that's all Faye or if that's just
If
Tamlin.
it's just one of his powers.
Well, not like one of his powers, but like very I mean, I guess kind of. He's like, I could tug on a woman's arousal. That's such a dude power to have.
It is a dude
But
power to have.
in terms of like, because he has his like beast form,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems like maybe that's like kind of just always like right under the surface. Like his claws will come out at
Mm-hmm.
times and different things. If that's not like a byproduct, I guess maybe of
Ah,
his shifting.
I see. Yeah, I don't know.
Because he's the only. I mean, we haven't heard Lucian talk about it, so we don't know. It's only been Tamlin. So,
Ah, Lucian.
like, he's the only other, like, female that outside of Reese that we've
Yeah.
really interacted with at this point, and, like, him and Feyre are not having those types of discussions, so,
No. There's this moment where Tamlin's basically like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And Farrah takes her clothes off. And then there's
yeah.
like this literal moment where it literally says, "I like bent my knee out to the side and opened wider." So that I was like, so he could see everything.
I remember when I read this the first time, I was like, I love one enthusiastic consent, very clearly
Yes.
enthusiastic consent, and so much confidence from Feyre.
Right? It's amazing. It's so good.
She's like, I know I'm hot. I know what I'm doing in this realm.
Yeah.
I know he thinks I'm hot.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
Yeah, it's so refreshing because you're so used to having these tales of these like maidens who have no idea what they're doing, and it's like the man has all of the power in this situation. But like, even though he is very clearly a beast in the sack,
Yes,
he
literally.
she has that she is in control of what they do. There's even a point where he's like, "If I stay in your room, you're not going to get much sleep," and she's like, "I don't care. I want you to stay."
Yeah, she's like, I don't want to sleep. That's not what I need.
Yeah. She's like, if this is my last night with you, I'm gonna make it count.
Yeah, she's like, I wonder if the back of her mind a little bit. She's not like, if I do this good enough, he'll let me stay.
I definitely think so.
I think so too. Because like you kind of have to think that, right? Like
Mhm.
at some point, she's like, he's not going to let this go.
Exactly. He does say
Yeah.
that he loves her after all of it.
So I will say, like, that part is cute, but also like, to anyone, please don't tell your partner that you love them anytime during sexual intimacy for the first time.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
because
correct.
it's going. Eventually, it's fine. Which I mean, I know this was post, but like, it's just gonna feel
It's
a
too
little.
close. It's too close.
It is. I think it's gonna feel a little less like. I don't know. He's still got them sexy hormones rolling
Yeah.
around in the air.
Yeah.
Like, I just think it's gonna feel less impactful.
Yes,
And,
I
like,
think
you
there's
can.
only two right ways to say I love you for the first time. Slash when you're tying sex in with it is either like way before where you're
Yes.
like, I love
Before you
you,
start.
let's do this.
Yes.
Right? Or like you do it a couple of times and then randomly not in that situation at all, you're like, by the way, I love you.
Yeah, like when you're like eating breakfast afterwards.
Yeah.
Or like taking a break for a snack. Or like whatever it is. Like,
Yes.
clearly not.
Not right
Like,
then.
Not right then, and also maybe not when your partner is falling asleep.
Yeah. Or
That
when
was-
she's leaving and literally leaving in a carriage. Like also, Tamlin.
Tam. He is truly the definition of the world's worst timing.
Yeah. Agreed.
His social timing is horrible.
Agreed. How did we like the language of this explicit content?
I didn't remember anything making me feel like odd or uncomfortable. There definitely was like an animalistic
Yeah, there's a lot of
element.
growls.
That does make some people uncomfortable. It does not for me. I
Same.
think I think it's interesting. Like,
It's
I don't
great.
think it's bad. I do know that I've actually known people that have read this and been like, I can't handle it. They're like, the growling part. Or, like, I'm trying to explain it to them and they're
Yeah.
like growling and I'm like, never mind. You know, it's just not your type of thing. That's okay.
Those are the people who don't consider are they hot or are they a beast. The both category is a no for them.
No, both is not an option. It's one or the other.
Yes. Yeah. Both is an
I
option
agree.
for me as well.
Oh, both is 100% an option. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't remember it ever. This was also not the first like type of explicit content like this that I've
Mhm.
read. I used to read fan fiction, so in terms of like what I expect in terms of sex scenes, this was pretty good. This was
Yeah.
like well written. It made sense. I wouldn't read it and was like, where did that, is that possible? Like, is like,
No, it was very straightforward. There were no moments in time where I was completely taken out of the scene by being like,
no.
"How?" Which
It
does
definitely seemed
happen,
like it was,
folks.
it does. It definitely seemed like in general with this one, it was just like they were coupling up relatively normally with some dirty talk in it.
Yeah,
Would be kind of, I think, what would be, which is, I would say, great for a
it was
first,
great.
first go around for that. But yes, yeah, it seemed very like, I mean, I guess first couple go rounds. It seemed like straightforward, easy read. I
Yeah,
guess maybe, yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah,
yeah, I didn't. There wasn't like an extra limb that was like, that's not what, like their
yeah.
hands were both busy here. It also can't be busy up here.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, it was very straightforward. I also think I think it was kind of sweet. I know that's maybe not the term you would think of, but
Yeah.
it was kind of a tender moment where they're like it was like
Hmm.
this they were both equally desperate to
Yeah.
be close to one another in that way. And
I agree.
there was no shame. There was just like,
I think that's kind of why, like you mentioned, that he like snapped. Like I think it was like him holding himself back, like him waiting for that moment to have that like tenderness there, and then he was like, "Great, got it, got the
yeah.
consent, got the tenderness out of the way. I'm going."
Yeah. Rawr.
Honestly, I will say that might be the only thing that if someone ever lunged at me and was growling, I might be like, "Nope." Gotta be honest, we're gonna have to
So
take a
it's like
break.
hard stop.
Like, never do that again. Like that might be the only time where it like feels a little too much. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. All
I think
right.
at that point, yeah,
I think we're good on the explicit content.
I agree.
Cue music. Welcome back from the explicit content segment.
Uh-huh.
Do we have anything else that we want to get into? Clara Better.
Oh, mm-hmm.
Feyre gives the name Claire Better and goes on to explain that Claire Better was one of Alaid's friends. I
Mm-hmm.
have a sinking feeling that's gonna bite her in the behind later.
I. It's very apparent that Feyre has never been in a situation where she has to come up with a fake name.
Yeah.
But like, she could have used Claire or
Use a
better.
different last. Yeah, don't give the entire name.
Yeah, you could have been like Lucille better. I mean, I guess probably using a last name of someone that you know is probably a negative.
Yeah.
But yeah, in general, if y'all are giving a fake name, don't give a real name unless you hate that person.
Yeah. And
Like,
are
that's
willing
the
to
only reason.
accept whatever consequences come from it.
Yeah, no, she very clearly was when under duress and panicked.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah, would not say that was that. That might be Feyre's dumb.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
is fair as dumb. You're right.
yeah,
You're right. Do you want to talk about the return to the Mortarlands and that whole situation?
that would be so jarring.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be so jarring, and like especially because it's not only like she's coming back to the Mortal Lands because like she hasn't been away that long. So like in theory, you would think it would be more similar
Mm-hmm.
than it was, but it's not like she's going back to her cottage. She's going
Right.
back to this house she's never been in with this life that her family has built without her.
Yeah.
That would be a lot to take in.
Yeah, completely. I like that we get like so much more from Elaine and Nesta
Yeah.
in this section. We we touched upon not loving characters that are just described as lovely, but
Yeah.
I think that these chapters do a good job of actually making you like Elaine. Like,
I agree.
yeah, like she was not coping well with her situation before.
No.
And given her life back and given the tools to use what she learned from that time and go forward from there, I do
Yeah.
think that she shows a great amount of personal growth.
I think she does too. She definitely, I think it like makes her care. I would assume probably more for like the servants and like that's why they
Hmm.
love her and like she understands that like her station isn't any better
Yeah.
than other people,
Yeah. I also
which I think is sweet.
love the whole thing where she's like gardening and all of the servants are like horrified and they're like,
Yeah,
let us do this. And she's like, no, I'm fine. You can help me carry the water, the buckets of water to water the plants, but I will do all of the other gardening. This is my garden. And they're
it's
all
like if
like, oh.
she's like, do not touch it. Like I feel like that's the one thing that Elaine's like a little weirdly aggressive about. She's like, don't touch my garden.
Yes. It reminds me of that. For those of you who have seen the Bridgerton series, in the
Mhm.
first season, when Daphne goes to the Duke of Hastings estate and she's getting used to being a duchess, basically, and she is out in the garden and she's picking flowers to bring to the villagers, and the what did they call it? The housekeeper I
Mm.
think is the term. The housekeeper is like, do not do that yourself. Have other people do it. Do you plan to like collect the honey yourself too? And Daphne's like, no. And she's like, well, then don't do this. It felt like a very kind of a comical,
Yeah, I agree.
that sort of situation.
Yeah, it's very much that like this is very much I think where like we really are settling into like this is kind of I think like not a period piece because it's a fantasy
Hmm.
world, but like in terms of the mortal realm, it seems like it's maybe like I don't know. In my head, when they describe the dresses, I'm thinking of like the dresses that they wore, like Marie Antoinette France
Yes.
kind of thing. Like they're really big, like way too wide, like that girl can't fit in the carriage, like
Hmm.
kind of situation. Like we're kind of getting that like proprietary, like
Yes.
proper kind of vibes from it.
Yes, I agree.
Hmm.
And then you have like Nesta, who Uh, I think I think we had some details about who she was before they lost everything. Like she was a woman of society. Like she
Hmm.
was that girl. She was like an it girl, I think.
She was the girl. Yeah,
Yeah. And then now she's like this recluse. Elaine says she makes her friends feel uncomfortable.
I find that really funny,
Me
especially
too.
because she has been so conscious of Elaine's emotions and things. The fact that like she doesn't really seem to care about that. Not that she doesn't care, but that, like she doesn't seem to care that the friends are afraid of her. She's like,
Yeah.
are uncomfortable.
Whatever.
She's like, you can be afraid if you want.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Although Elaine does say that the year or like not the year, the months have been weird because it kind of everyone just pretended like nothing
Mhm.
happened. They just kind of were like, "Oh, it's good to see you." Like kind of glossed over the past 8 years. And I have
Yeah.
a feeling that Nesta is like, "Screw all of you. You did not
Yeah.
talk to us. You avoided us like the plague when we lost everything. I'm better than
Mhm.
you. I don't need you."
She seems to have a very strong sense of like right and wrong for her.
Hmm.
Like she has a strong set of morals and things that have been drilled into her and how like she's so upset with her dad that he didn't do anything or
Hmm.
like that these people haven't helped them or they just want to like fakeness to her I think is like an affront.
Yes.
She's like fakeness is not.
It's like a mortal sin.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah. Yeah. And then just like the end of the chapter with Farah and Nesta, I like the friendship that they could have, that it
Hmm.
could develop into makes me so excited.
I agree.
Especially because I do think like Nesta is Nesta. And we've talked about we don't
Hmm.
like she's a terrifying woman. We love terrifying women.
We do.
She was very rude.
She was, like I mean, the sad voice in her head, of Fair's head, is Nesta.
Yeah. Right. But and she doesn't like apologize for it, but she's
Hmm.
like, no, but I acted this way because I hated that I couldn't do what you were doing.
Hmm. That's also a lie. She definitely could have. She just didn't want to,
Correct.
and somehow convinced herself that she couldn't.
Correct. Correct.
But
But I also think that that's we can introduce that in the daddy issues section, but I think it's
God bless
mommy
you.
issues. So
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
Gosh.
Um yeah, and then oh Farah going back. I mean, this is why I love Farah. She like the first thing she does when she realizes how much she has to
Mhm.
give is she goes to the village and she gives those people gold. And she's
Mhm.
like, Like, that's her first thought is like, well, we're all fine, but we lived by these people for 8 years and everyone was so poor. Like, she is going to
Yeah.
go and take care of them.
I will say, I do think she could have done it in a way that did not involve her carrying around large bags of gold in very poor areas.
Yes.
I think Feyre, a lot of the time, and some of it's probably just her lack of education or just like not processing it kind of thing. But I think she sometimes it's just a little reckless. I think that is a big Feyre trait
Yes.
she is a act first, think later kind of girly.
Yeah.
And I think there was better ways to do it.
Although I do think that part of her thought process was like, I just survived, 6 months in Prithian. There's nothing any of these people can do to me.
That is probably fair. I guess it's less of like, which also her being attacked, but just like them accepting the money, or just like she probably could have given them more. Like if she
Yeah.
would have set up like, she just needed to do like just a few more steps.
Just be a little bit more thorough with your approach.
Yes. I think she could have set it up in a way that actually helped them instead of just being like, I'm a rich person who's just going to hand you gold that, like, may not really help. Like, it'll help for, like, that meal, but, like, long term. No, in theory, that is overthinking this, and I am aware that it was just supposed to be a nice, lovely gesture. And it was. But at the same time.
No, but it's true. I think that, and then like Farrah's 19, so she's been poor for almost half her life. So she doesn't really know what to do with all of her money either.
Which is very fair. Actually.
Shall we go to the Beauty and the Beast comparison?
Yes. Yes, you had a note about this, didn't you?
Yes, I can finally say what I had. My final note. Okay, so in last episode I claimed that we met our Gaston, and I have further proof of that now. In Beauty and the Beast, when Belle sees her father caught and she's like, I need to go, and the Beast is like, then go. He lets her go back home. It's directly a result of Gaston's actions that the Beast lets her go. And all of that happens. It is directly a result of Rhys's actions that Tamlin sends Feyre home.
I don't think my brain truly connected that the reason that Tamlin sends her home was because she could sit home and be in the Beast.
Yeah.
Until right now.
What?
I'm not kidding. Like, I think I was just so upset that she got sent home. Because, like, by this point, like, by the time I got this point in the novel, like, we're actively looking for Beauty and the Beast comparisons. At this point. When I was reading this, I was, like, by this point, I was not actively looking for Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, wow. No, this was like, I read this and I was like, oh, yeah, because Belle goes home.
Yeah, so I do think that we talked about this the first time you read this. And I think I was also like, I didn't connect that.
But yeah, so directly the reason is Gaston, captures Belle's father and is threatening him, but Rhysand is threatening Feyre with capture, in fact.
Yeah.
And so Tamlin sends her home.
Yeah. He does, which I remember being frustrated with that, but I also understand that he like truly just feels like he can't.
Yeah.
Help.
We also have Lucien again playing Lumiere, being like, why are you letting her go? Like, Lumiere literally says that.
Yeah.
I think so. Is it Lumiere?
Is it Lumiere or Cogsworth?
Maybe it's Cogsworth. But, like, there is definitely that discussion of why are you letting her go? And then someone is
they definitely both.
Yeah, right. And then someone is like, it's because he loves her. Where in this one, Tamlin is literally like, I love you.
Yeah.
All right, next segment is, are they hot or are they a beast?
Yeah. Do we have any new? I mean, I guess like the whole sex scene situation is like combo hot and beast.
Very much so. Very much both.
Yes, very much both.
Yes.
With Tamlin, which we've kind of said before. I know we've said that, but I feel like it really solidifies what we meant by that.
100%. He is solidly both.
He is solidly both, yes.
Rhysand, last time we said that he was like a very good balance of it. This time, like, way more terrifying.
Yeah, I know. I think I mean, Feyre does describe him as like still having like a sensual voice,
Yeah. The whole
but
sensual voice, his voice gave her shivers down her spine. Get it together, Farah.
especially when that night is when that stuff happens with Tamlin.
Oh my god. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah,
Whew.
right. I'm assuming it's
Yeah, it
after.
is. It is.
Yeah,
It is that night.
yeah. She is got a lot going on.
Yeah.
I mean, fair enough. He sounds attractive, and they're not. I mean, officially together at this point
Yeah.
necessarily. They don't ever really like have the like. I don't. I'm assuming. I guess like the concept of girlfriends don't really happen
I
in
guess.
Fey realm. Like they don't really have that like we went from hanging out to I love you. There was no like mid ground
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
there.
I get the impression that in the weeks after summer solstice, after they like kissed a bunch at dawn, like
Yeah,
that was their like courtship. Like they're together
that was the
now
start of it.
loosely.
Got
Yeah.
you. That makes sense.
Oh, there's no weeks between it. It literally happens the day after summer solstice.
Well, I was curious about that because I'm like, did they wait a while? Okay,
Nope.
yeah, they really don't.
Nope. No courtship. It was just
They go
like
from
hanging out, flirting, making out. It's happened. I love you.
zero,
Ah.
zero. I think the I love you part there really puts that so much into perspective
Yeah.
of just being like, you don't even know me.
Yeah.
Like you know me as a person, but not as like a romantic partner. Those are two
Hmm.
different things.
Yeah. Also, like Feyre doesn't really know Tamlin.
No, she knows nothing about him. Every time she asks him a question, he's just like, "You don't need to know."
Yeah. Like truly, she knows that he can play the fiddle.
Fiddling man.
She knows that he's hot. She knows that he
She's very aware.
carries a big burden in
Mhm.
like caring for his court, but she doesn't know any of the specifics of that.
No, she does know his daddy issues, so I mean, he did at least put those up front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Great, me too."
Yeah, honestly, fair. We can bond over that. That's not new.
Yeah.
Doesn't everybody?
Yeah.
In this book, it's
They
everybody.
sure do.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's really. I mean, I think Nesta's even more in the like both camp in terms of like beast and hot. I think like there's more emphasis on the beast element.
Yeah.
Here,
Yeah.
Elaine's just cute. I feel like calling her hot's weird.
Yeah. Agreed. She's like a cutie pie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, Isaac. He got
Oh,
hotter.
he did. We love the solid married man
Yeah.
who just it seems so committed to his wife.
Yeah. Who's like
Very.
not awkward when he runs into Farah. He's just like, "Hey."
Yeah, he just seems not awkward. Not only with like not her being away, but like with the wealth or just like any of it.
Yeah.
It seems like it's a very like open, wonderful relationship.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's all we've got.
I agree.
All right. Next. Daddy issues.
Oh bless.
All right. Well, let's talk about this. Nesta admits to Farah that she played games. She played games when they were poor. She was like, "Sometimes I
Mhm.
wondered if you weren't going to be able to do anything, if our dad would finally get off his butt and do something other than his stupid wood carvings." She was so mad at him. She holds so much anger for him.
Valid.
Yes. Yeah.
So valid.
And then we were talking like this is hardcore daddy issues, but then we couple that with her mommy issues, which are
Yeah.
we don't know what kind of person their mom was, except that she was cold, distant,
Mm-hmm.
only cared about parties, and Nesta had the most amount of time under her tutelage.
Yeah.
And so her whole attitude towards going through poverty and then getting wealth back and dealing with people, she has always been a queen. She has never
Yeah.
once believed that she wasn't better than people.
Yeah, and that she wouldn't like somehow come out on top
Yes. Yeah. And then so
of
she's
whatever
just
circumstance.
right. So she just took that straight into their refound wealth and is like, I am we're not the same.
Yeah,
So,
I
while
agree.
those are mommy issues, I do think she sort of wins.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that I don't know. Nesta is so like there's definitely more. to her than we're getting, and we're only seeing what Feyre sees of her and her perception of Feyre and what's coming from that. It's not great. It's improving.
It's improving.
But in general, not great.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Do we think Rhys has daddy issues?
Making someone grovel at your feet because you think it's fun and then you decapitate people and put it on a rock for them to see, I would say probably. Gonna go with a solid probably.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. I would say, I mean, we don't know. Also, well, yeah, being called someone's, plaything is also not great.
Yeah, that's not great. Might be more those issues than something else, but
it could be.
It could be. But here's the reason I think that there's some sort of daddy issues there. We were talking about how do we get from the person who saved Feyre to someone who decapitates someone and jokes about it later, right? Daddy issues.
Mm-hmm.
Something happened with his dad. This is my theory. Something happened with his dad and the way that his dad treated women that led him to have that hard line where it's like violence, yes. Violence against women, no.
That's fair. That's often why people have that line, actually. So that's actually not a bad way to think of it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes. I think we're going to learn a few things about that man. Just say. So.
Great. All right. Tam Tam's Dum Dum. All of the above. Everything.
All of it. I will say, in terms of Tam Tam's daddy issues, I think that's where the throwing things comes in and why he just sent her away. I think it's connected to all of that. So it's like daddy issues make him dumb.
Yes.
And therapy would fix everything in this world.
Yes. Yes. Agreed.
Just saying.
Telling Feyre you love her when she's falling asleep after a passionate night. And then again, right before she leaves and you put her into a sleep that she can't wake up from so that she can't ever come back to see you. Stupid. So stupid. Clearly, Lucien agrees. So Lucien would have so much to say in this segment.
Well, Lucian's also his closest friend. And so I think Lucien telling him, like, you are being an idiot is not like us just thinking he is. It is truly him being like, because like Lucien clearly has all the pieces. We don't.
Yes.
Right? Like, we're getting more. Like, we know who this mysterious she is. We have this mountain thing. Like, we have a little more knowledge about the blight and what's going on with it. Like, we have some pieces, but Lucien has all of them.
Yep.
And he's been like, you're a dummy.
Yep. You're being a dum-dum.
Breaking everything.
Come on, Tamlin.
Well, I mean, even the fact that, like, technically, if I remember correctly, the reason that Rhys found out, they remembered to glamour Feyre, didn't remember to glamour her plate, which is how Tamlin or Rhys figured out that there was another person in the room.
Yeah.
Like, I get that he was trying to, like, physically protect her, but, like, he's been in war. He knows things that are obvious.
Yeah.
Like, move the plate.
Do something. Come up with a better excuse when Rhysand asks about it.
Yeah, I agree.
I do think that it's kind of dumb. Like, we've talked about how, like, he said "I love you" at a very inappropriate time, in very inappropriate situation as well.
Agree.
But also, like, the timeline of it. Like, does he mean it? Does he even mean it?
If I was Feyre, I would, like, I understand that she's not had a whole lot of love in her life, so I think she's not really going to know, like, the difference between, like, infatuation and love and all of those things. It's going to be hard for anyone, especially a 19-year-old who has clearly a lot of abandonment issue situations, to process. But yeah, like, I don't think that, I wouldn't think it was sincere at all. I would be like, you don't love me. You just think that's what you want me to hear.
All right, Feyre's dum-dum.
I think there's less of that in this section.
I think so too.
For her, I think, like, the way she went about giving the gold was not the brightest.
Not the brightest. I think that Lucien was wrong in calling her and saying that he didn't. I think Feyre is not dum-dum in being forced to leave and not sharing her feelings and not fighting to stay. What is she supposed to do?
There seems to be, like, there's something missing that she's just, like, not understanding. That she's just like, he's sending me away. Like,
Yeah.
you're acting like it's my choice to leave. Like,
Yeah.
it's not.
Plus, like, if there was something that she should have done or could have done, Alice would have said something.
Alice or Lucian. Like, either one of them have been very upfront with her about life and
Yeah.
things. Like, it just seems odd.
Yeah.
To me that he's just like, why are you leaving? You're making a mistake. And she's like, it's not my choice. I'm not the one making the mistake. Go yell at the man that's doing this.
Exactly. Which he does.
Not me. He does. He I think it kind of gets in his brain. He's like, this is actually against Tamlin, not Farrah.
Yeah.
But
I'll say this probably for the 5th time. Farrah's dum-dum. Why are you attracted to Rhysand? In a moment that you're also absolutely terrified of him. Like, she doesn't say that she's attracted to him, but it's just that description of, like, his
physical.
voice purred and it sent shivers down my body. Like, excuse me, woman.
She has a lot of physical reactions to him. It doesn't seem like mentally she's thinking about him a whole lot.
Yeah.
But, like, in his presence, her body is physically reacting a whole heck of a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. But yes, I would say that's like a... What you doing there, my dear?
Yeah, and she also, like, she finds the time to mention in her thoughts that he is, like, the most attractive man she's ever seen. Like,
yeah, so that.
Dude.
Yeah. Like, Tamlin is wonderful in a lot of ways, but it's also been a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is this new, she clearly, I mean, I think we already established that, like, she didn't seem to super like Tamlin until she figured out he was a High Lord. She just has a thing for High Lords.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's true.
I think she's like, oh, this one's even stronger than mine.
Right.
I like that one. We love a girl who craves safety, and is just going to go with the one that makes her the most safe.
All right. So I think that is where we'll leave you for these chapters. On the next episode, we will be discussing chapters 31 through 35 of A Court of Thorns and Roses. And it's going to be a wild ride.
We're excited. We can't wait.
Woo.
It's going to be great.
All right. Signing off.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Hi, me again. I am here to let you all know where to find us. You can find us on Instagram at BookWitchesPod. You can find us on Spotify at BookWitches with a B. You can find us on YouTube at BookWitches with a B, and you can find us on TikTok at BookWitchesPod. All of this information is also going to be listed below our episode, and it's going to be listed in the ending credits if you're watching along with us in the videos. Catch you guys soon!